Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Love, Death, and Movies podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Harry, aka The Notorious. With me, of course, are my two incredible co-hosts. One, Byron, aka Something Movies, and of course, Ash. How are you guys going today? Ash first.
I'm doing well. I feel like Byron is going to be so upset that he has to wait until I'm done to address that introduction. I'm good, Harry, but you can address me as Kim Possible today,
I love
not
the get
Ash.
up. You
Um,
came into the call and you're like, guess what I am? I'm like, Impossible. Fuck yeah.
I had the full outfit on, but you can only see partial. But yes, I am Kim Possible tonight. But I'm good. I have had quite a long, stressful week at work, so I am very happy it's Saturday and happy to be here with you guys recording this episode and talking about some more movies. As far as what I've been watching, it has been mostly horror films. I watched Ready or Not a few days ago, one of my favorites. That
Hell yeah.
has actually gone up in rating for me. Such a blast of a movie. And then I just watched Trick or Treat the other day too.
Great
That's a
movie.
fun and yeah, anthology movie. And then I watched Under Wraps, which is an old Disney Channel original.
I remember Under Wraps.
Yeah, so good, holds up so well. So highly recommend it if anyone hasn't watched it in a hot minute. And then I watched Five Nights at Freddy just before this, but we will get into that later.
Amen. Byron, how's your week? How you doing? We haven't seen you for a few weeks because your internet's powered by hopes and dreams.
Episode 3 is a special occasion because it is the return of the Notorious. It's the return of the Letterboxd list god, and it's the return of the person that's better than George Carmi. Uh,
I can't take it seriously, man.
I'm all right. Honestly, I think I will say Ash said that she's been watching a lot of horror, and I threw my arms in the air, and I kind of just whacked my elbow on my wall. So it's put a dent in my mood a little bit.
Well,
Um,
you're as clumsy as a normal ghost face, man.
yeah, I think it's the mask because you know me. I've shared my opinion on how much of a dumb son of a bitch Ghostface is.
He is. And then,
But
like,
Even
yeah,
brought
it wasn't me.
I did a video like I don't know, a couple of months ago about like horror movies I would survive in, and one of them was Scream, and I got a lot of backlash for that. But if you think about it, they're just high school kids, and I would beat the shit out of a high school kid easily.
Oh, if you can't if Ghostface is hunting you, you're not fucked. If you just have a slither of IQ, like you're fine. Like if you can run, you're fine. You don't be a moron. You'll be right.
Amen. Well, it is our Halloween episode. Byron is dressed as Ghostface. Ash is dressed as Kim Possible. I am Sean, out of Shaun of the Dead. I even borrowed a cricket bat from a friend in case Byron gets a bit too close to me. But episode 3. But this is like we've been doing all of horror in terms of all horror sort of content and throughout October. But this is our ultimate episode of horror. We've got an awesome show. We've got reviews for Five Nights at Freddy's. I wonder if we liked it. I'm the only one that saw The Killer, so I'll do a quick review for that. And then we've got three incredible topics of best horror directors, best atmospheres in horror, and our top 5 2020s horror. And then we're going to finish it off with a little fun movie draft, which we will explain closer to. But first off, we're going to start every show how we always start, like how we're doing, and what we've been watching. So, other than Five Nights at Freddy's, Ash, well, what have you been watching this week?
Yeah, sorry, I jumped the gun. I shared a couple, but besides the ones I already talked
Spoilers.
about, I also watched a couple non-horror films like Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is one of the most hilarious dark comedies ever made. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. It's got an amazing cast. And then I watched I Love You Man last night because I was in a shit mood and that brought me back up.
I love that movie. I think that's one of the best comedies of the last 20 years.
Yep, five
Amen.
star film right there.
Amen. Nice. Byron, other than Five Nights at Freddy's, I guess, what's some other highlights that you've watched?
Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's was the only movie I watched in the last 7 days that actually got a negative rating. So it's safe to say that I watched a lot of bangers. I rewatched Dario Argento's Opera.
I
Probably
can't
my
take you seriously with this fucking mask. But
if,
continue.
if, Look, if the Scream franchise ever wants a New Zealander to play their killer, like, I'm fucking down. But yeah, no, I rewatched my favorite Dario Argento movie, which is Opera. I think you guys should watch it.
Nice.
It's absolutely amazing.
Time I
I
watch this.
watched a very underrated gem that I saw Marta and I believe George log, which is Soul Survivor from 1984.
Nice. Yeah,
Uh,
you talked to us about that. You told us both to watch that one.
yeah. I completed my 1,500th movie logged on Letterboxd, The Bride of Frankenstein, yesterday.
Nice.
I really enjoyed that one. And then I finished off my rewatch of the Scream franchise, as well as George A. Romero's Dead franchise. So that was my highlights. A lot of good stuff.
That's awesome, man. Well, I've seen 4 movies this week, including Five Nights and The Killer. So we'll do reviews on that after. But I saw Haunting in Venice. I finally caught up with that. I like had a day off work and I basically just went and saw that. This I don't like this series that much. I find this series like my review kind of sums it up. I'm like, I can't wait for the next one where they hire a Pyro. Is that how you pronounce it, Byron? Poirot, the detective. Can't wait until they hire him to find out how they get the funding for these fucking movies. But they're just not for me. I like, especially in a day and age where we have Knives Out, it's hard not to compare. And like this, I think, is the best of the trilogy, but it's still a 3 out of 5. I went to the cinema last night. Oh no, I saw a couple other movies. I just haven't logged one from last night. I saw Beetlejuice in theaters.
So jealous.
Yeah, a couple days ago. So my local theater does a lot of retro, especially around Halloween. And watching Beetlejuice in theater was amazing. I took a friend that had never seen it before, and she's just like, "What the fuck, Byron?"
What is happening? I'm sorry. It looked like Byron was trying to pour Red Bull into his eyes. So I was very concerned.
There's no hole here. I've just got the eye sockets and I've tied this together.
Then you don't drink.
Move on. No, I was thirsty.
Uh, yeah, I took a friend to see Beetlejuice, and she'd never seen it before. And she's like, "What should I expect?" I'm like, "Oh my god, Byron!" I was like, "You should expect Michael Keaton being incredible and a random musical happening midway through the movie." And I love that movie. I think the movie's fantastic.
Okay.
And I also got to go see the original Exorcist last. Jesus, Byron, the original Exorcist last night, which was awesome. Packed house, every seat sold. I haven't seen the movie for like a decade, so it was kind of like watching it again new. And it was the extended edition, which has like all the different like creepy scenes that are added. I love that movie. That movie's amazing in my opinion. They had the I'm not sure if it was in the original cut, but it's in the extended where she spider crawls down the stairs. Do you remember that? Where the mum's like down the stairs, looks up, and goes, starts screaming. You see it. That for me is the creepiest shot of the entire film because it's just so weird. But yeah, so I saw that. I loved that. But that takes us into our first review, Five Nights at Freddy's. So we've all seen this now. This film came out last week. It's met a lot of backlash. It's very divided against critics and fans. Critics hate it. Fans of the game seem to love it. So just around the grounds, like, well, what do we think? Top line, Ash.
Yeah, I just finished it like 30 minutes ago or so. So I feel like I have the most recent watch here. I had no expectations going into it other than the fact that everyone I know has been giving it like 1 star. So I was expecting low things. So I guess maybe that kind of helped going into it, knowing that it's probably going to be not the best. But I also didn't play the game. I don't have any understanding of any of the lore or the characters. I actually liked Josh Hutcherson, I think is his name. I thought he was really good. I haven't seen him in anything since like the Hunger Games. So I thought he was pretty good. And I thought the like set and all the animatronics were cool. But the story was just all over the place. So many things. I'm like, did I even get an answer to why that happened or what path that led us down for what reason? And some of the lines were like a little over the top, a little cheesy. And it was just kind of messy. But I did think there were cool aspects of it. I don't think I disliked it as much as some people, but I'm like between 2 or 2.5 stars. I'm leaning towards 2. Pretty generic. Didn't need to be an hour and 50 minutes.
Oh, so long. It was so long.
That's really my thoughts on it. I don't have much passion towards hating it, but it definitely didn't wow me.
Nice. Byron.
Uh, I thought it was fine. I really didn't expect anything. I also didn't play the games. They just didn't seem to interest me. I went with a buddy of mine who's very into that franchise, and he said after that uh, he thinks the only reason I gave it a negative review is because I know nothing about it. Horrible argument because it wasn't very good, but I think the third act for me kind of saved it because although it was what still wasn't good, I did find myself enjoying it more than I originally thought. I mean, it's Blumhouse horror, could go either way.
Yeah, that's the definition of Blumhouse horror. I love
Yeah,
Blumhouse horror, but I also hate it.
I think I'm on the side of just disliking it.
That's fair.
Too many stinkers, man.
Yeah, nice.
Megan,
So what'd you give it?
I gave it a 2 out of 5.
Nice. Nice. Well, that's higher than what I've given it. I want to start. This is for the fans. I've talking to a bunch of people that are fans of the game. They loved this movie. So if you're fans of the game and you haven't seen this yet, and you're listening to this and you're still on the edge, go see it. You're probably gonna love it.
I mean, I'm excited for them that they're loving it because
Yeah.
as someone who, like, if you're loving the game, that's what you want when you see a video game movie is to love it. So I am very happy for the fans.
Absolutely. So yeah, again, this is it just wasn't made for us. We're very much well versed with that. It was made for the fans, and in that regard, it succeeds. I agree. Josh Hutcherson was great. I think Matthew Lillard should have been the lead.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
that would have made much more sense to me. I think Josh Hutcherson carried this film. What I liked is that they didn't go towards CGI. The animatronics, I think, need to be shout out. I think that was awesome. That needed to happen, especially for this. And they got one of the puppeteers out of the Jim Henson company to do all the animatronics, and I thought that was awesome. In terms of a horror movie, it's not good. I think that the PG-13 rating really hurt it. I know that gets a lot of flack in terms of modern horror, especially like stuff like Megan and stuff, which I didn't mind Megan. I had a lot of fun with Megan. I don't think it's a good movie, but I had a lot of fun to watch it, right? But I think this case as well, the PG-13 really hurt it, especially with it being a horror game. I think that they could have upped the ante. But I guess there is a massive jump there and that would have really hurt sales. I get it. It is business. But it did feel like it just kept amping up to events that happen in the movie, and there was zero payoff again and again.
Right.
And as Ash said, that there was a lot of questions that just kept not getting answered, which for me really made it drag. So it was just under 2 hours, and it felt like 5 nights. So I couldn't really grasp this movie that much. Again, I was in a theater with a bunch of Five Nights fans, and they were having a fucking time. So again, if you're a Five Nights fan of the game, go see this movie. You're gonna love it.
My theater was, I shit you not, it was louder than No Way Home.
Awesome.
I didn't understand what was going on. YouTubers were making cameos left, right, and center. I had no idea who they were, but I swear the other 100 or so people were losing their fucking minds.
Yeah, there was one guy like this isn't a spoiler. There's like a cameo from a YouTuber that serves them at a diner. And my theater went off, and I looked up after, and I was like, "Oh, is that the creator of the game? It's just some streamer."
It's just
And
some dude.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh,
It's
okay."
just some random guy.
Well, I guess like streamers made this game, to be honest. Like in terms of made the popularity. Like Markiplier
Yeah.
apparently was supposed to be in this.
Yeah,
Markiplier,
he was rumored to be in it.
yeah, Markiplier was like the biggest streamer to
I mean, to video
biggest
game nerds,
YouTuber.
like streamers it's a big deal. It's like seeing a
Huge.
celebrity.
Yeah, huge. That's why like if I had recognized him, I would have got excited as well. But it's just not my game. But again, yeah, this is for me didn't connect with it. It's felt a lot. I like this more than Skinamarink, but this felt more like Skinamarink. That like this wasn't made for me. This isn't like I'm not talking about the quality of the film because it's definitely not. The only people that can kind of, in my eyes, can talk about that is the people that this is directed at, right? This is made for, and that's just not for us, I think. But again, if you're a fan, go see it. You're gonna love it. And then I just want to touch on The Killer, if I can, guys, because I saw The Killer, David Fincher's new film. I've been looking forward to this movie for a hell of a long time. I adore David Fincher. I adore Michael Fassbender. And this movie, I haven't seen a trailer. I haven't seen anything. I just know that like I can kind of grasp what it's about because it's Michael Fassbender. But all in all, I loved this movie. I'm seeing a lot of reviews that are giving it between 3.5 to 5, and I'm up the upper echelon. I'm at 4.5 for this film. So I'm not going to give away anything in terms of over like story, but like the whole general layout of the story is it follows a hitman played by Michael Fassbender and through the fallout of his latest job. That's all I'm going to say about the story. The story is quite the only downfall of this film for me is the story is quite generic, but I was talking to Epix about this, friend of the show, shout out Epix, is that wasn't really like a down point for me, and he agreed that it's because of Fincher's directing, he kind of made that generic story brilliant. But what this whole film surrounds is the idea of precision, about how everything is planned, especially towards this like specific hitman in his job. Everything's planned to a T, and the idea of one simple mistake just making everything crumble around him, that's brilliant. And then it's all about the aftermath. Fincher is Fincher, so it comes no surprise. His directing is brilliant here. The cinematography makes the entire film seem so claustrophobic at times. It's hard to describe it. Like the cinematography makes the film feel clean when the killer is precise and dirty when he's not. You'll understand when you see it. There's like obvious shots where you're like, this is really just well done. Fassbender's brilliant. His role really reminds me of David out of Prometheus. That like really sophisticated sort of I can't take you seriously, Byron. That sophisticated sort of that nature. But yeah, so the one downside is the movie is quite generic, but like the storyline is quite generic, but it's done brilliantly. And to consider that Five Nights and The Killer both have almost the same runtime, The Killer's pacing was perfect. This movie sprints by. Yeah, in terms of the atmosphere and everything like that, it's awesome. I loved it. I think it's just edging inside my top 10 of the year. It does have one of the best openings to a film I've seen in years. The opening of the film, I saw it with a friend. Like we were in awe after, and we're just like, let's fucking go. Like, it's really, really damn good.
What's the genre, Harry? Is it like an action movie or a thriller or
Crime thriller?
Yeah, I'd go more thriller. It definitely has a lot of action in it. There is some great action moments. There's one fight in particular that I think it's up there for the best fight this year. I think John Wick probably edges it, but it's some of the best. Like it's very grounded. It reminds me of a New Age Bourne. That's how I would describe it. It reminds me of as if David Fincher directed a Bourne movie, that's perfect. That should sell anybody.
Sounds pretty dope.
Yeah. But yeah, so definitely go see it. It comes out on Netflix in a couple of weeks. I loved it. Again, I do see people giving it less of a score for me, so you might not like it as much as I do, but that's the beauty of film. But I gave it 4.5. I think it's brilliant.
Considering I've given like David Fincher, I think 4 or 5 of his films are like a 5-star for me.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about it.
It's awesome. It's great. I can't wait to you guys see it so we can talk about it a bit more. Ash, we're going to go into our first topic, and I want you to introduce your topic this week. So we got 3 topics this week. Ash, give me yours.
Yeah, so my topic is horror directors. So I thought that I might just sort of open it up to the ones that I feel like are more my taste, that I find to be my favorites, that obviously I tend to like their films. And then I figured you guys can kind of join to the list and let me know what I missed or what you would add. So I think we all have similar tastes, but also we like a lot of different style of horror films, obviously. So I'm going to open it up with a pretty obvious one, obviously with John Carpenter, being that Halloween, I feel like was one of the first slashers that I remember seeing, obviously when I was younger. I think that's just a pretty classic answer. I can't really imagine anyone saying that he's not in the top for horror directors.
Oh, easily. Yeah. Absolutely.
No one can argue with that. I don't know that he's like my personal number one. I just haven't seen enough of his films, but I want to see more. So I've added a couple of them to my watch list. But yeah, he makes great films. He does great partnerships, obviously for the music aspect of it, and is very involved with the different scores for his films. So that always adds to it, which I appreciate because that creates a lot of times, you know, how you feel leading up to those kill moments is kind of what the music is doing. So I definitely like the way he sets up his environments and his horror films. And then a big one for me is Wes Craven. No big shocker there.
That's my number
Obviously
one.
with Nightmare. Yeah, same for me. It's my number one with Nightmare and Scream. I think that he just has a style that I just vibe with. And I think the colors that he chooses to use as well, and the way he's involved in the castings of his films, as far as the actors, I think really makes a big difference. So big fan of Wes Craven.
Good pick.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely, I think I was trying to decide what my number one was between him and Sam Raimi. I do love Sam Raimi, obviously, for the Evil Dead movies, but I think that I've had a longer connection to Wes Craven. I've liked his movies for longer. So that's probably my number one, but I did want to mention Sam Raimi because obviously he's just the king of camp. I mean, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness. We talked about this briefly, Harry, but like Drag Me to Hell, I want to rewatch that.
Yep.
Great movie. If you haven't seen that one, Byron, definitely check that one out. Little quick shout outs to a couple that I feel like only have a few horror films, but they're still worthy of noting. Scott Derrickson, shout out to him again for Sinister and The Black Phone. Mike Flanagan.
Yes, damn it. I thought I was going to sneak that past you. Yes.
No, Hush. I love Hush.
Yeah, Hush is great.
And then James Wan, I feel like you have to mention as well when you're talking about horror directors. And then last shout out, well, Jordan Peele as well. That's more modern horror. I didn't know if you guys wanted to go too much into modern horror, but I love all three of his films. I think that's no question that he obviously knows what he's doing. But quick shout out to Edgar Wright, actually. I know he's only done Last Night in Soho and Shaun of the Dead, but I think those are both brilliant. And I hope that he does more horror films. I know Last Night in Soho is not quite as on the nose horror as other films, but I still think it has those horror thriller psychological
it's horror
elements.
Noir for sure.
Yeah. So I think he's got it in him. I really do hope that he does more in that realm. Yeah, those are the ones that I thought of, and I definitely would say Wes Craven being the one that I would lean to the most. But I think that John Carpenter might be the most long-term, the best. That's the most notable for a lot of people.
Hell yeah.
So Byron, I don't know. What do you think? What do you add to the list? I assume you probably have a specific one to add to this or a few.
I do have a few. I will say one that I left off because he's not a horror director because I believe he's only done the one horror movie, but Sir Ridley Scott, creating one of the greatest horror movies of all time, in my opinion, the best horror movie of all time.
Would you say Alien Covenant is a horror?
Yes.
Well, there's two.
There you go.
Good point.
Gotcha, Ghostface. Gotcha.
I forgot he came back to the franchise like halfway through.
He does have like one horror franchise, yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, you guys aren't doing a good enough job. Hold on. Yeah. Hold my beer. I'll quickly make Covenant.
Yeah, let Daddy cook.
Yeah, Wes Craven was definitely another one. I think he just brings a fun twist to horror. All of his movies, even A Nightmare on Elm Street, even with it being as frightening as it is, or Freddy Krueger, like his lines in that movie, it's just amazing.
The idea of it is fantastic.
There's so much comedy in his films every time, even when it's like a serious thing like murdering people. There's always a comedy aspect.
Yeah, and then the other two names I had first was Dario Argento, which I believe I am 8 or 9 movies into his filmography. I believe he's only done horror. I don't think he has anything else in any other genre. So he's literally the definition of a horror director. All of his movies are fantastic. You guys know how many I've recommended to you. And the other was George A. Romero.
Yeah,
who obviously has done all of the. Oh, he's the zombie guy. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, The Return of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead. His world building with those movies is fantastic.
Nice. Well, I got a couple just to add to the list. I had everyone has already said. I've also got Tobe Hooper needs to be talked about. Just for Texas Chainsaw alone. Like, he's done others, of course, but like Texas Chainsaw alone is a brilliant piece of cinema and super damn important for for horror. Every time Byron looks around, it really is like Ghostface. Of like, you know, when
He is embodying Ghostface.
yeah,
Yes.
it's so distracting. Toe Hooper for sure. You mentioned Jordan Peele. I also need to mention, just for some new age horror, definitely need to mention Ari Aster. Um, I think like in terms of new age horror, I think he's needs to be mentioned. He's unbelievable, especially his first two. I know Beau is Afraid it's very divisive, but I think everyone can agree that Hereditary is brilliant, and some people even think Midsummer's better. I love Midsummer. I think Hereditary is better, but I think Midsummer's fantastic. Robert Eggers doing The Witch and Lighthouse. I know me and you, Asher, are very in agreement on The Witch. It's just not. We just don't particularly love it as much as others, but the Lighthouse is sensational.
Oh yeah.
The Lighthouse is so damn good. So that he definitely needs to be talked about. One that you already mentioned, Mike Flanagan, but I also want to mention Jennifer Kent. She did the Babadook, as well as the Nightingale, which is Australian horror films. Nightingale is more of like a disturbing thriller, but it has horror elements. But the Babadook, I think, is sublime. So in terms of up and coming directors, I think she's awesome.
Yeah, those are great additions to the list. I was also just thinking, quick shout to Ty West, obviously X
Oh
and
yeah,
Pearl and Maxine Coming. I know that I am a huge fan of those movies, and obviously I think Nia Goth is a big part of why. But I also think that his style of horror is good. And I also am not as much anymore, but I did at one point have a pretty good fascination with Rob Zombie films. So I'll give a quick shout out to him. He's definitely very gory, definitely has a very specific type of horror films that he makes, but there was a point in time when it did, capture me and get me more into horror films. So those were always a fun time.
did you like the Rob Zombie Halloween?
You know what? I actually haven't seen his Halloween films. I've
Good.
seen like, House of a Thousand Corpses and all of those, but I have not. I actually want to watch them because I'm curious.
You sure you want to watch them? Okay.
I might regret it, but I am very curious to see what the thoughts will be.
One that we didn't mention, but like it's just not my cup of tea. But the Cronenberg films,
Yeah.
very much body horror sort of stuff.
Hmm.
Definitely not my cup of tea, but um, they are others. Byron, you've watched a lot of Cronenberg, haven't you?
I've watched my fair share. Not too many great ones. I don't know how many movies Brandon Cronenberg has. Because he can't have a lot, but I
Not
think I've seen
many.
like 6 in total.
Right.
But I name them probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could give a shout out to The Fly. I do like that
Yeah.
David Cronenberg horror film. Jeff Goldblum is great. It's really gross, but yeah, body horror doesn't tend to be my genre of horror, unfortunately. I think it's really any of ours for the most part.
For sure.
I mean,
One
I fuck with all horror, so.
one that no one's mentioned yet, which is kind of surprising, The Master of Suspense, which is Alfred Hitchcock, which definitely needs to be talked about because Psycho is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. As well as Stanley Kubrick, even though like Ridley Scott isn't predominantly horror at all. The Shining is arguably one of the best horror films of all time. So it goes to show that horror direction can't be just focused on in terms of just one director doing just like a Dario Argento for sure, but a lot of directors, both new and old, definitely dive into horror and produce excellence, like Edgar Wright. So yeah, there's definitely like ones all over the place, I think.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't mention Hitchcock mainly because I have only seen Psycho and it's been a while since I've rewatched it. So I didn't feel like I'm the right person to talk about him because I just haven't seen a lot of his films. But I'm sure at some point I will check some of those older ones off. I just tend to fall more into that 80s and forward horror. I don't know. That's kind of always where I've vibed.
Yeah, with horror, I was messaging you about this, Ash. Go the other way. Go back to like the 30s and the 20s, because there's some really, really good stuff in amongst those decades.
It's so hard
Yeah.
to take Byron seriously. Like it's so
Ghostface is
Yeah,
telling me to watch more horror films.
but would you not say it's hard to take me seriously regardless?
well. Don't let me get to that. Byron,
Yeah.
Byron, Ghostface, Unnotorious. What's your topic this week?
Carry on. Yeah, so this was meant for episode 2, but unfortunately, my internet decided to tell me to go fuck myself. My topic for last week and now this week is horror atmospheres. I think an atmosphere in a lot of horrors can enhance everything about the movie or just completely take the tone away. So a good atmosphere for a horror movie is something that I personally look forward to. A
For sure.
couple notable ones you obviously knew this was coming. Alien,
Yep.
Ridley Scott's 1979 Alien, I believe to have one of, if not the best atmosphere in any horror. Um, it builds tension throughout the entire movie just so you can see a glance of the xenomorph, and when it comes, the claustrophobia just piles in, and it's airy throughout the entire thing. So I love that movie, no matter what. It Follows, I believe, to have one of the best tension building atmospheres of all time.
Agreed.
I mean, just the title. I'm like, oh fuck.
I reckon
So
that the
yeah,
music adds to that
yeah,
wholeheartedly. Yeah.
absolutely. Like the hallway scene, and It Follows. That gets me every fucking time. The Lighthouse, I find to have one of the most unique atmospheres. It's built out of a lot of dread and discomfort, and I think Robert Eggers, one of my favorite filmmakers, I think he thrives in that space.
Absolutely.
Uh, Dario Argento, pretty much all of his movies carries the same
Do you have
level.
music on in the background, by the way, Byron? Don't worry, it might just be picking it up from another room or something.
I don't know. Well, I have this over my ears and then my headphones over my
All good,
ears.
all good. Continue.
So I'm trying to, yeah, but Dario Argento's Suspiria,
Yep, I
I
had that.
think they have one of the most stylish. He's definitely, in my opinion, the most stylish horror director of all time, and the atmosphere that just comes with that. And The Descent, the last one I'm gonna say, The Descent is much like Alien, just built of dread and claustrophobia
Yeah.
so goddamn much. I mean, you could put yourself in those shoes, being in a cave like that, and you see those fucking things.
Hmm.
Oh nah. So yeah, those are some of the ones that came to mind when I thought atmosphere.
Hell yeah. I love that. Ash, what are some that come to my
He
mind?
he tackled most of the ones I wrote down, but
Yeah,
the
same.
ones that you didn't, I wrote down The Witch because even though I don't like, I think it's a good movie. I just don't find it as amazing as other people. It's a little bit too much of a slow burn for me personally, but the atmosphere definitely kept me engaged, and I think that it is again the Robert Eggers style. I think he really thrives when it comes to horror atmospheres. So I wanted to mention that one. I also put down The Shining. I don't know if
Yep,
you'd
I got
call it an
that as well.
atmosphere, but to me, the color palette, the suspense of building everything up, and just kind of how it makes you feel, I think it really builds a nice, scary atmosphere that really does build that psychological like tension throughout the movie. And then I also wrote down Night of the Living Dead. I also thought the story was a teens boring for me personally, but the atmosphere was killer. It was so good. It was definitely very eerie, very creepy. At one point, somebody's like lit on fire and running around. Like it's definitely very intense zombie movie. So I definitely appreciated the atmosphere there.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, you guys have said majority of them. A couple to add. One that, so in terms of atmospheres, it's all about the setting, right? And it creates that sense of claustrophobia, that paranoia, and that like haunting, terrifying feeling. The outpost in the thing is amazing because it's that sense of isolation is brilliant, and that's kind of what is the same with The Shining, the Overlook. That sense of isolation really brings it. This festival in Midsummer, I think, is amazing.
Hmm.
I love Hereditary a little bit more, but the festival in Jesus Byron, that's so fucked up. um, the festival in Midsummer is sublime in terms of one of the best atmospheres in horror. You couple more that because everyone's already mentioned. I think the school in Suspiria is fantastic.
Yes.
The community in Get Out, or it's basically just the house, but I call it the community because it's like kind of everyone in there. I think is so damn good. That like
I
that
wrote down Get Out as well.
Yeah, it's so creepy, and then like that one scene where it's like everyone's at the house is kind of like dictates that entire atmosphere. How you're just completely on edge the entire time. Um, there's a found footage film, but the Blair Witch Project, the whole forest in the Blair Witch Project is incredibly terrifying. The whole, the mainly because like you don't really see anything throughout the entire film, so it's kind of the atmosphere and the sense of paranoia that kind of brings that horror. Like we just they're camping in the middle of the night trying to go to sleep and they're hearing screams in the background and or they go out and all they see is just like empty woods. Horrifying. So whenever I go camping nowadays, all I think of is the Blair Witch. And finally, the apartment building in Rosemary's Baby, where
Good one.
by the end of it, you realize everyone's in on it, so that you rewatch that again, and the atmosphere is even better because you're looking at it and like everything's planned out. Everyone's talking to them for a reason. This whole environment that they're in is planned. I think that's so damn good. So yeah, atmospheres in horror are very, very important, just to convey a sense of horror, a sense of terrifying nature. Like jump scares are great if they're done well. Acting and storylines are brilliant again if they're done well, but the atmospheres in horror very much are as important as anything.
Agreed.
Nice. We'll go into the final topic, which is my topic of the week, which is we were talking about the best horrors already of all time. So we want to whittle it down to just our top 5 2020s horror, because a lot of the horrors that we noticed in our all-time horrors are all old age, like especially like probably 2010s to around 1970s. So our our top 5 2020 horrors. We'll probably just go. Everyone does number 5, everyone number 4, everyone number 3, yada yada yada. So, starting from my top left, Byron, what is your number 5 2020s horror? You might be on mute. Ash, do you want to go?
Yeah, I can start. So for number 5, I was between 2, but I think this one is a little bit better for me. So I'm actually going with Evil Dead Rise.
Nice.
Which just came out this year, obviously. I know it's not got the best overall rating, but I personally loved it. I thought it was really gross and gritty and just the new environment of being in that apartment complex. It was, I guess, a little bit like of the Gen Z was built into it with like the kids and the teenagers. And of course, they made the stupidest decisions, but Alyssa Sutherland was just amazing. And I also like the actress that played the other sister. I'm blanking on her name right now, but I genuinely love that movie. I give it 4.5. So that is coming in at my number 5.
It's a great pick. It is a great pick. Byron, what's your number 5?
Yay! Yeah, so I'm actually going to change my ranking because I'm actually going to slide this into my top 5, but it is a 2023 release, and it is not Evil Dead Rise. It is Talk to Me. I think what Danny and Michael Philippou did with the whole possession narrative was very, very intelligent. There's very few possession movies that have worked. Obviously, Conjuring and The Exorcist are the main two. A lot of movies tried replicating what those movies did, and they just fell flat on their face. I think what the Raka Raka Boys did with this one was absolutely amazing. And just Sophia Wilder put in probably my favorite horror performance of the year so far. I just think all parties delivered on that movie very, very well, and I'm excited to see what the sequel looks like.
Nice.
Yeah, agreed. That was actually my number 6, so it just barely missed it.
Yeah, I've got a number 6, but it might be talked about. But number 5 for me is Phil Tippett's Mad God. If you haven't seen this movie is sensational. It's stop motion animation. It took, I don't know, it was like over 2 decades or something to make, where it's the whole storyline is just this figure going through a nightmarish world, but it is spectacular to watch. For just the whole design of the entire world is just super engaging and engrossing. I adore it. That is my number 5. So Ash, what's your number 4?
Nice. That's actually on my watch list, so I'm hoping to tackle that very soon. My number 4, and I will preface with, I removed a couple movies that I personally feel like are more drama or more thrillers. So like shout out to Bones and All and Watcher, because
Watcher was my shout out. Yep.
I just don't find them to be horror enough for me personally to put them on this list. So number 4 is one that I think is horror. It shows up as one of the primary genres. So you guys can tell me if you don't agree, but The Menu. I love this movie. I find it so funny, but also so haunting at the same time. Like this talking about isolation, coming to this place, you can't really escape. And also just like the commentary on like the rich, and kind of how they treat things and scenarios. I just absolutely love it. Is it pronounced Ray Fiennes?
Yeah, Ray Fiennes.
I think yeah, him and Anya Taylor-Joy are just absolutely fantastic in it. I think I've seen it 3 times now, and my rating goes up every time I watch it. I just think it's absolutely fantastic, and the kills are great. So that's my number 4.
Awesome. Byron, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Watcher.
Oh,
My favorite horror movie of last year is between that and The Black Phone. I think Watcher surprised a lot of people, because on first glance, I think the majority of people were just thinking, "Oh well, it's just another lackluster thriller." Watcher is one of the most realistic depictions of a horror movie I think I've ever seen, because it's not some monster that's chasing our main character. It's just a dude following her for this entire movie. And I think the pacing, the music, I think it all enhances the feeling that Micah Monroe's character, bless her, performance is fucking awesome, is feeling. So although it's more of a thriller than a horror, I still have it in my horror ranking, and that's my number 4.
It's a great pick. No, I that just edged out. I had it in my top 5, and then I remembered about Mad God, and I think the uniqueness of Mad God kind of just put it over the top. But talking about horror, like how good's a 90-minute horror? And that was what Watcher was. I think it was like 80-something minutes. I like that. That's so good. I love those type of. I'll put that in the line with like Rear Window and Disturbia. Me and Ash were talking about Disturbia last week. Great fucking movie, Disturbia. But I put that in kind of line with that I love. I thought Watcher was brilliant. Great pick, man. But yeah, number 4 with me is Byron's number 5, which is Talk to Me from this year. Yeah, I echo everything Byron said. What the Raka Raka Boys were able to do for their debut is incredible. They did this on such a short budget, but you can see how incredibly talented they are. Their use of jump scares, which weren't like traditional jump scares, I thought was brilliant. Their montage scenes were epic. The party scenes, which has now become a TikTok trend, which is awesome. But the idea that they had towards possession through invitation, I thought was sick. And using it as like a drug, a recreational drug, I thought was just such a cool idea. And what they did was awesome. And I thought the ending was so damn good. But yeah, number 4 for me is Talk.
Yeah, love that movie. So number 3 for me is actually The Black Phone.
Nice.
You guys know, Scott Derrickson just does it for me. But Ethan Hawke is just so terrifying as the grabber. I think this is another one that, even though aspects of it are not realistic, I think the way he captures the children is, and it's very terrifying. And then you talk about these kids and their relationship with their father, just so terrifying. And also the acting from the children, I think, is just top tier, especially the sister. Fun fact, that's the sister in real life of the girl who's from Megan.
Really?
Yeah, they're sisters in real life. So hope they both do more horror films. But yeah, just absolutely terrifying movie. It also has a low rating on Letterboxd. I don't really get it. I think it's a very creative, well executed horror film.
Hell yeah. Nice. Byron, what is your number 3? You are on mute again.
I said, can we just please give Ethan Hawke more roles like that?
Yeah, he's great.
Him and the grabber is absolutely elite. My number 3, shocking enough, is a movie that I didn't know was this high in my ranking until I filtered it to this decade. Is The Menu.
Nice.
Love it.
I think, although I don't particularly see this as a horror movie, I see it as a more of a thriller, comedy, mystery. Um, I think between those genres, I think it's balanced perfectly. Um, I think it is one of the more creative horror movies of the last decade. Not even just of this decade, just the last 10 years. I think all three performances from our three leads is incredible. Anya Taylor-Joy still holds one of my favorite horror performances in the last decade as well. Um, I just think they did a really, really solid job after with it, and I might pay to rewatch it soon enough because again, I think it was very, very good.
Great pick. Number three for me is Ty West's Pearl. I liked X. I thought X was really good. I loved the talk about atmosphere. I love the atmosphere in X. I love the whole like the plot line, the storyline, and like the what am I trying to say? The time period of where I love that sort of time period of horror. Um, I'd give it probably a 3.5 because I just thought it was like super predictable and generic in terms of all the kills. But Pearl making this like a horror character study was so damn good. This movie captured me. I loved Pearl so damn much. I could watch Pearl every single day and be happy. I think that Mia Goth, I think this is her best performance that I've seen her in, period. I think she's spectacular in this movie. Everything about it is just so utterly unnerving. And I also think this has one of the best credits of all time, where it's just her smiling. I think that is awesome. And it's got the new Superman in it, of course. The guy that's about to play Superman, he's in it as well. So, shout out to that dude for that. But number three for me is Ty West's Pearl. Onto the top
Well,
twos. So,
it's funny that you should mention that because my number two is Pearl.
hell yeah.
I just think this movie is absolutely brilliant. They didn't have to do anything after X. It's like everyone would have just been fine with where they left it, but just getting to see why this character is so deranged. And I'm sure we were all asking ourselves after X, why is she like this? Like, this is just a weird character. So the fact that they were able to like pull from that and just come up with this whole backstory, I think is absolutely fantastic. And Mia Goth is just unstoppable. I second everything that you said. I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I think that her performance was one of my favorites of the year that year. And yeah, I can't wait to see what else she does.
She's great, isn't she? She's so good.
Amazing.
Byron, what is your number two? I think you're on mute.
I feel like Byron's becoming like the Cam of our podcast. He's always on mute. There you are.
What was your number two?
My number two belongs to Jordan Peele's Nope.
Wow.
Nope is another. It's a 4.5 out of 5 stars for myself. I think not only what he has done with Nope, but with all three of his movies, he doesn't have a movie under a 4.5, which is shocking to me. But Nope, although being the weakest of his three films, in my opinion, like I said, I still have it at a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it is one of the best blends of science fiction and horror that we've seen in recent memory. I think the performances, for the most part, are very, very good. Especially Daniel Kaluuya, who probably had one of my favorite horror performances of last year, which was a stacked year for the horror genre.
It was.
I think Jordan Peele's just took it home with this trilogy of his.
Yep. Okay, cool. I thought you were continuing a sentence then.
No.
Cool, yeah, well, nice one. My number two is Zach Cregger's Barbarian from last year.
You're going to say Zack Snyder. I'm like, what?
No, Zach Cregger, Barbarian from last year. This was my favorite horror from last year. I adored this film, I think, a lot more than most. I've seen this movie like 4 times now. I love it I love it more every single time. This whole idea about like, I don't really want to say it in case anyone sees it, but like it's kind of like a haunted Airbnb in a way. But then it keeps evolving into something more and more and more disgusting. And when you think it's like the height of evil, it keeps getting worse. Like there's this one line in the movie where it's like this guy that looks like he's attacking this woman, attacking this woman saves her, and then he's just like, "There's more evil in that house than that," and it's like talking about a monster, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And then by the end of the movie, like you realize exactly how fucked up this whole movie is. I adore this movie. In terms of atmospheres as well, I want to give a shout out to Barbarian, because the fucking tunnels in Barbarian
Yeah.
have you on edge.
Definitely.
And talk about a character that is an incredible character, but just such a scumbag. Justin Long's character in Barbarian, piece of shit. Deserves everything comes to him.
Disgusting.
Just
It
a
actually
gross
made
guy.
it hard to watch the first time because it's so unexpected.
Oh yeah, big time. But I adore Barbarian. So we're down to the number ones. Ash, what is your number one movie of 2020s?
Okay, I feel like this is going to be a surprise considering your reaction to it being Byron's number 2, but Nope is my number 1.
Wow,
Love
that's
the
awesome.
2020s. I love Nope. I actually give it 4.5. I think it's his second best film. I like it a little bit more than Us.
I agree.
I think that what he does there with creating this sci-fi horror blend, and also mixing in the past, like the scene with the chimp. I mean, that's got to be one of the most brutal
it's
horror
so
scenes I think
creepy.
I've ever seen in a film. And it's so unexpected. Like when I saw it for the first time, I was like, where are we going with this movie? Like what? And even just the thing that, why am I blanking on what that's called? But like
The UFO.
the UFO, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. That floats around. I mean, even just the way it captures people and stuff, like it's just so unique the way he executes it.
Yeah.
So for me, that is my number 1.
I love that. I love how I sell people in Nope because I'm like, it's a blend between Jaws and Signs. I'm like, done.
Yeah,
It's so good.
it's a great way to put it.
It's a great pick. I love it. I just love.
And
It's not that I was
shout out to
surprised.
Kiki Palmer real quick because
Oh,
Kiki Palmer is
yeah.
amazing in that movie.
She dominates in that movie. She's so fucking good in that movie. Nice. That's a great pick. Yeah, I like me being surprised. It's more just like it's more of a delighted surprise. I think it deserves a lot more praise than it gets. So I like
Yeah.
that. Byron, what's your number 1? You might have to unmute.
Yeah. So my number 1 was Harry. It was your number 3. Ash, it was your number 2. My number 1's Pearl.
Love that. I love
Nice.
that.
I think it's hands down one of A24's best horror movies that they've ever put out. And when you line up all of their horror movies, it's a pretty big feat. I think Pearl is one of the 6 best slasher movies ever made. I think in terms of my entire ranking of every horror movie I've seen, it surprisingly holds its own. It's a movie that I think could actually end up going up to a 5 out of 5 at some point. I'm trying to hold off on giving movies 5 because I have over 100. But Pearl absolutely deserves, I think, every inch of this movie is fantastic. I've seen it 4 times over now. I think this movie has really set up Mia Goth for a huge career. I mean, even before Pearl, she was huge. I think after these movies, she's going to be even bigger. I'm very much excited to see where Mia Goth goes after Maxine.
For sure.
I don't think they're going to go any more than a trilogy, but I'd like to see it because I think what Ty West and Mia Goth and that whole team behind that movie is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I adore Pearl. That's why it's in my top 5 of 2020s, of course. I think Pearl's spectacular. Oh, man, I adore it so much. But my number 1, Jesus, Byron. Well, just take the mask off. Jesus. But my number 1 of 2020s, I think it was number 5 on your list, Byron. I don't think you mentioned it, Ash. Evil Dead Rise from this year.
This is my number 5.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was then.
Wasn't on. It did not make an appearance on mine.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, Evil Dead Rise. I love Evil Deads. I think there's not a bad Evil Dead. And I think this movie, is one of the most entertaining cinema experiences I've had in quite some time. I from the gore, it's beautifully gory. Like it's gory as hell, but it's so talk about atmosphere again. The apartment building in Evil Dead Rise is so fucking good.
Yeah.
You watch the trailer and you're already hooked by how like creepy and daunting it is. Sorry. But the mother, who's played by who is it?
Alyssa Sutherland.
Thank you so much, Alyssa Sutherland. She gives off one of the best performances I've seen in quite some time. She's brilliant in this film. It's just purely entertaining, but it's just done so damn well. And I think the best compliment I give it is that it's deserving in its ranks in against alongside other Evil Deads. I think it very much deserves to be in that franchise. And I can't wait to see another one. Also, one of the best title shots of all time. When she's rising above the lake, one of the best title shots of
how
all
have we not
time.
talked about that?
Holy shit! Like, yeah, when that happened, I was just like in my theater, being like, "Oh, let's go!"
I was so hyped. Yeah.
I saw it with one of my buddies, Miles, friends of the show. Miles, thank you, shout out. And I was seeing across the aisle from him, and I saw the trailer, and I knew that there was going to be something to do with like a cheese grater, and he likes horror, but he's very squeamish. And when she picks up the cheese grater, I just turn to him, start staring at him, and he just looks at me and goes, "No." He's like, starts to shake. I'll never forget that. My best horror movie of the of the 2020s for me is Evil Dead Rise.
Nice.
And that brings us on to our final little game of the episode, which is a movie draft this time, specifically around horror. So we've got 5 different horror genres. So we've got slasher horror, comedy horror or horror comedy, found footage, psychological horror, and sci-fi horror. So drafting, we each have to get one in each topic, right? Which is going to become a lot more strategical when we get to the later rounds, if I'm thinking correctly. But the draft order is Ash, Byron, and myself, and we're going to do snake draft order. So without further ado, Ash, you got pick number 1. Go ahead.
Are we just picking any film from any of the categories in whatever order we want?
Whatever order you want. Yeah, so you can pick any topic first. Yeah.
Okay.
So dealer's choice. What do you got?
I'm actually going to take my psychological horror first because I feel like it won't last if I don't. So I'm going to take Get Out.
Great pick. Get Out. Nice. That's Jordan Peele coming in with pick 1. Good on him.
No?
Jordan Peele, if you're listening,
I believe he's one of our thumbnails for this week.
Spoilers. Byron, what is your pick number?
I've been debating this all morning, where I go with my first pick. Either I do Harry over or I go with my favorite movie of all time.
If you do me over, I'm doing you over.
I can't win both ways. I'm gonna take my sci-fi. Taking Alien. This shouldn't come as a surprise. Nope. Alien is my favorite movie ever made. Thank you, Ridley Scott.
That's fair. Well, I could do Ash over, but I would not do that to our.
Hey, do it!
No, because I am going to take Scream as the best slasher. I think I know what Ash will pick in that sort of case, and I think I know what Byron will pick in that case as well. But in that case, I'm going to go. Well, my second pick should only be between found footage and horror comedy, just because those are ones that still have full picks. I'm going to take Shaun of the Dead. I'm dressed as Shaun.
Damn you!
I got to take Shaun of the Dead for horror comedy.
Okay.
God damn it.
It's Byron.
I was actually thinking. Oh, it's Byron. That's right.
I'm gonna take my slasher as well.
Yep.
The question is, do I go for votes or do I go for my opinion?
Do whatever you want.
I'm gonna go with my opinion. I'm gonna take the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Tobe Hooper's original from 1974. In my eyes, the greatest slasher of all time and the only slasher that I hold at a 5 out of 5.
Nice. Nice. I thought you. What about Scream 3? Nice. Nice. Well, Ash, what's
3 stars.
You've got 2 picks now, Ash.
Okay. I am feeling like I'm going to change it up. So I'm going to go with found footage now.
Nice.
And I'm actually going to take one of, I don't think it's like the best, but it's one of my favorites. And I think people love it. I'm going to take Cloverfield.
Damn it! Oh, damn. That was a great pick. I was going to pick that. Great pick, Ash.
Love that movie. Then do I get a next?
Yeah, you got a second pick. Yeah.
You got another one.
Okay. Then I guess I will bounce back to. I'm going to bounce to sci-fi because I cannot believe it's taken this long for this to go. But I'm
Pick
taking.
it. Please pick it. Thank you. Jeez, I was like, it cannot get back to Harry. I can't pick it, so you have to.
What'd you pick, sorry?
The Thing.
Gotcha. Just so audio can do it. Nice.
Oh, thank God.
Damn. Byron, you got a pick.
I'm gonna go with my horror comedy.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with another zombie movie. Another one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm gonna go Zombieland.
Nice.
Nice. I like that pick.
You think Zombieland's better than Shaun of the Dead, don't you?
Not anymore.
Okay, good.
I updated my ranking.
Good boy. Good boy. That's my son right there.
Still my favorite.
I'm gonna go psychological horror. I think this is psychological horror. I'm gonna go The Shining.
I would say so.
Yeah, it's about a man going insane. It's absolutely psychological horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I should leave sci-fi to last now because you guys have picked that. So I have to go found footage. I'm going to go what I think is the better film. I'm going to go Wreck.
Good pick.
Yeah. Eat shit, Byron. All right, Byron, what's your next pick, bro?
Oh, God damn. I'm just going my favorite routes. I'm going to take my psychological horror. Give me The Lighthouse.
Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Thank you, Robert Eggers.
The Lighthouse. And then, Ash, you've got your... Is it final 2 picks? Yeah, final 2 picks.
Yes. Okay, so I need my slasher and my horror comedy, my 2 favorite genres.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it's the better movie than Halloween. I don't know if people will agree with that, but that's my opinion.
I knew that you were going to pick that. So that's why I was like, I could either go my favorite or screw Ash over. I'm like, I'm not going to do that.
Appreciate that. I mean, I would have been happy, obviously, with Scream as well.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have been happy with I think Nightmare's brilliant, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't have been happy with
It's not your favorite, yeah. For horror comedy, I actually cannot believe 3 of my favorites are still on the board. I'm trying to decide between all of these.
Just written it down what I think.
I'm going to take Evil Dead 2. It's the more popular film, but my God, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is probably one of the most hilarious movies, just outside of horror in general, just one of the most hilarious movies ever made.
I wrote Tucker and Dale.
I think it's the funniest movie ever created.
Yes.
So
Hands
fucking stupid.
Byron, you've got your found footage left, and there should be a clear one that you're going to pick.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Blair Witch Project. I think it's the last one that I have rated high, a 4 or higher. So it only makes sense. I'm gonna go with the Blair Witch Project.
I like that.
Please and thank you. I don't know who directed it.
No. Well done. So I'm going to go with the favorite of mine here for sci-fi horror. I know you've seen it, Byron. I'm not sure if you've seen it, Ash. I'm going to go Event Horizon. I
haven't.
I adore this movie. I love sci-fi.
Dang.
Yeah, it's a great goddamn movie. So just to reiterate, for slashers, Harry's gone myself. Harry's gone Scream. Ash has gone Nightmare on Elm Street. And Byron's gone Texas Chainsaw Massacre. For horror comedy, I've gone Shaun of the Dead. Ash has gone Evil Dead 2. Byron's gone Zombieland. Found footage, I've gone Wreck. Ash has gone Cloverfield. Byron's gone The Blair Witch Project. Psychological horror, I've gone The Shining. Ash has gone Get Out. Byron's gone The Lighthouse. And finally, sci-fi horror, I've gone Event Horizon. Ash has gone The Thing. And Byron has gone Alien. Great picks all around. All in all, I don't think there's a winner, but I know there's not a loser. Oh.
I think we all had solid lists, so you really can't go wrong.
Amen. I think that's brilliant. Do you guys have anything else to say for our number 3 episode?
No, mate.
Are you going to be back next week, Byron, or is that just like a work in progress? Sort of depends what your internet level's at.
Hopefully.
Nice.
Depends if we allow him back or not. No.
Yeah. So it depends if he's cut. Well, they'll have it for another episode of Love, Death, and Movies. Follow us on everything. We're on Instagram, Twitter, I think, TikTok, you name it. You can follow, subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating on all your podcast apps. But until next time, I'm Harry, Ash, Byron, and this is Love, Death, Movies.